Hello, hello. All right, we are live. Today, I am going to be learning. Hold on, I want to test my mute. Okay, so two mutes actually work. All right, irrelevant. I am going to be learning more about the metaverse. To be honest, I don't know a whole lot about it. I generally don't. I think, we brought on Rox to share kind of just his viewpoint on NFTs and decentralization in general. I don't know a lot about cryptocurrency. I don't know a lot about. I'm a huge fan of decentralized, actually, a few decentralized platforms. And I think Metaverse, I don't know, every time I hear it, everyone has like a different idea of what the Metaverse is. And a lot of people will see it as kind of just a centralized solution that essentially, I don't know, intermelds technology into reality. Some people see it as that, but some people also see it as like just a general concept. Like it's not necessarily Facebook owned, and there are a lot of decentralized opportunities to distribute a solution like this, and that can bring other opportunities to different sectors that you wouldn't even think. Because like a lot of people are just, they see trailers of like virtual reality for video games, and I think it has a lot more opportunities that people should be looking at. So where I come from this is I think I made my point very clear. I have extremely little trust for Facebook, for Mark Zuckerberg, but they're also like such a huge entity in the world that's almost, it's not 100% required, but you're severely hurting even just how you interact with society in general if you don't even have an account with Facebook. I'm thinking more as like even a content creator and like a business owner, and like as a personal user, I think most people should reconsider whether they actually need that platform. So I think my distrust comes from where this idea comes from. But I think the idea itself is unique, but I don't know a whole lot about it. So that's where I'm coming from. I feel like I pulled up a few articles. I watched some YouTube videos. I pulled up some articles, and I feel like, I don't know. I wish I could see, I would love to react to YouTube videos, but a lot of content creators get into a world of hurt, and it's a pain to prove fair use and to go through the process. And even just like sometimes it could get your account kind of limited and hurt your revenue coming in. At least that's what I've heard from other content creators. So I can't really react to YouTube videos. So I watched a few outside of this, but I think articles, it's much easier to, I think it's much easier to not have to deal with the hassle of proving fair use. Just an interesting concept for people considering, because like a lot of YouTubers, it'd be nice to pull up other people's content and just like react to it. I think that kind of stuff is fun, and I want to hear what other people are saying. But sometimes, creators are really, they're a pain in the butt. So, and I've seen channels get taken down for it. All right. So anyways, we're gonna dive into the metaverse. It's probably gonna be pretty fundamental stuff, basic stuff. So if you have anything else to contribute, anyone that's watching afterwards, feel free to share it in the comments below. But I think synthwave is going to be appropriate for this live stream. Hey Gil, I saw your comment earlier. I hope you can join us. Hey Cotain, hey Rico, Elazar, Nolan, how you guys doing? Would you be more confident if another company, like if Apple's VR is a similar? No. Apple is not. No. I don't think there's any tech giant that I am comfortable with it. Like large tech giant like that. Apple, I haven't seen anything in the news regarding Apple like privacy concerns or anything like that, but I feel like I have in the past. I would love to see more of a decentralized direction with this. I think a lot of people would be comfortable, but like a lot of people see like decentralized solutions as like I guess more of like avoiding censorship, which can be a good thing, because I think we over censor things, and I think we can no longer have constructive conversations around very, very important topics. And I'm even capped. I'm very limited in what I talk about. Even on Discord, it's like sometimes people ask me about like, why do I ban politics and social issues on Discord? It's like, because I want tons of perspectives around it. And like, if you have the wrong perspective, like it could literally take down my server. And I want to, like, when we have controversial issues, I want people of all sides to come in and share their thoughts. And especially with a lot of censorship, that's not able to happen anymore. Like, there are platforms that do push that, but like, they don't really have an audience. I've considered like alt tech, and they don't really even have an audience to where it's not even worth it. So I'd love to see certain alt tech platforms grow, but like the idea of like decentralized solutions can kind of curb that censorship. But like, then you get the idea of like a lot of it's traceable, right? I feel like, wasn't there an argument made with decentralized solutions where a lot of it's traceable, and like you actually, you're kind of free to say what you want, but there's no privacy because it's all traceable. I don't know. I feel like I've read stuff here and there. And so I also have a skeptical view of even like what the reality of decentralized solutions are compared to how a lot of people put that kind of solution on a pedestal. And I think people are a bit dreamy about it as well. But I think I have an article here that's going to talk about it. But let me go ahead and put up some synthwave. We could do this one. Is it a playlist or? Wait, what? I can't hear it all. What is going on? Hold on. Can you guys hear it? Yeah, you guys can hear it. All right, we're gonna debug this. Okay. All right, now we're good. Now I can hear it. Let's pull up royalty-free synthwave. No, I just started. I had a playlist that was really good. Where is it? Give me a second. Royalty free. I need to trim some playlists. This is actually ridiculous. I can't even find my old. There it is. Took me forever to find this. There are going to be some good songs, some bad. Try to skip through some of the bad ones. All right, so I'm going to be honest with you guys. I am really behind on a lot of stuff. The one-on-ones picked up quite a bit, and I love doing them. I'm just, I didn't expect that many. I might have to cap it again. So I'm behind on, like, sometimes I'm going to be late to these live streams, and we got to take some time to announce it in the Discord. So my apologies for that. Hopefully in the next 2 weeks, I'll be able to kind of get back on track. All right, so let's go ahead and advertise this in Discord, and then I will move this over and we'll dive into it. There we go. All right, let's get moving. My 2 cents, I worked at Facebook for 8 years, and every single engineer cared so much about privacy on a technical level, and it was baked so deep into everything. It was the first thing we thought about when building anything new. I've seen startups with almost no regard for privacy internally or security infrastructure to protect user data, and I would trust Facebook way more. Oh, fuck no, I 100% disagree with you. I've just heard a lot more stories from different Facebook well, no, not engineers specifically. So, I mean, security comes in a lot of different forms. And the idea is, like, have you ever, like, read their terms of, their privacy policy specifically, like, word for word, ran that by a lawyer? And so what a lot of people do bring out is technically, like, they do protect your privacy from other people, but like a lot of there are some privacy provisions that aren't really favorable for the users. And so it's not about like a lack of security. What you're talking about, like what engineers are going to talk about, is really like focused on security. And I would agree, like startups, I think, can even have a lack of engineering expertise to ensure that. But that's not really where the issues come into play, Michael. Maybe we could bring, the thing is, I'm not a big enough podcaster for anyone to like leak anything, you know, on my podcast, or even share that kind of stuff. But maybe sometime in the future we'll be big enough where I can bring on, because you hear about these stories all the time from different, even Facebook executives that speak out, and but I think it's out of the engineering scope. Maybe we could do like another live stream about it, but I think that's complete bullshit, and I think it's very nearsighted, and I mean that in the kindest way, because I do believe you guys probably did highly focus on security, but that is such a deep and complex issue that like the insurance of security at the engineering level, it's irrelevant. But Michael, if I do bring these people on, what I would love to do is maybe bring you on for you to talk to them. But again, that's probably not going to happen for a while. Why do you always ask like way off topics, Nolan? I feel like half your questions are just like, they come from nowhere. Michael will volunteer as a tribute. I don't know. All right. So let's, I kind of, again, it's pretty fundamental stuff. Like I have really fundamental knowledge of Metaverse, so I'm gonna bring this over. Where was it? I just want to start with this because I thought it was an interesting title. When I skimmed through it, I like people that do take considerations of kind of just like, so I'm a firm believer everyone has like light and everyone has darkness in them. You could refer it as like everyone is good, everyone is bad in them. Like I call it whatever you want, but I think a lot of people would be surprised at what they're capable of, both on the good and bad side. Psychology is really interesting, and so it's also, I find articles interesting that really focused on how technology accesses those parts of people, right? And so I've even, because I would love to read a lot more positive things, but generally, even just like some of the, I wouldn't call it like a mental disorder, but some of the conditions that evolved through like overuse of technology are almost always negative. And I think anyone that considers that, I think would, I don't know, I find that really interesting. I think they're thinking about the psychology and how technology plays a role in that. So anyways, I don't know, maybe this article sucks. It's really short. Let's go over it. We're just going to be exploring. All right. Metaverse is coming. Like any technological innovation, it brings with it new opportunities and new risks. The Metaverse is an immersive virtual reality version of the internet in which people interact with digital objects and digital representations themselves, and others can move more or less freely from one virtual environment to another. It can also augmented reality. I have like a lot of articles, so I'm gonna kind of skim some of this. Merging between virtual physical. Both objects from the physical world are represented in the virtual. Virtual is brought into the perception of physical spaces by people. By putting on virtual reality headsets or augmented reality headsets, people will be able to socialize or worship and work in environments where boundaries between environments, and there's actually been a bigger push into bringing spiritual into the workplace, but I'm actually a fan of that if you take that just as is. But like, I don't know, maybe that's another topic, because that's a really interesting one, where when companies do 360s, so a lot of especially when you get like a lot of tech companies and you get a lot of I don't know, a lot of progressives in the sense of like really diving deep in, I don't want to say worshiping technology, but like primarily focusing like evolving the world through technology. A lot of like religion and spiritual practices are literally just like tossed in the gutter. And it feels like it like, even when you, I don't know, even when I interact with a lot of employees that like really meld into the cultures of like very large tech companies, they just, it kind of just, they feel soulless sometimes. Like there's no other way to say it. And this idea that like now these companies are like really bringing back like spiritual practice in the workplace, because this is kind of like a bigger push that I've seen now. It just makes me skeptical. It makes me think, why? I don't think it's out of like a difference or change in ideology. I don't think it just feels, it kind of like, maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but it almost feels like companies are recognizing that anxiety is through the roof in people, depression is through the roof in people, and it feels like another ping pong table. Like when I see companies like go through these drastic changes and these conventions spread across multiple companies, it feels like another fucking ping pong table, or a comfortable couch, or like a really expensive just open workplace environment to make people feel more comfortable. And it feels fake and soulless, and it feels like companies are, it's just like to attract new recruitment, right? That's the feeling that I get with kind of that big spiritual push in big tech right now. That's the catch. When people learn to love something, be it digitally, physically, or combination above, it can lead to emotional pain and distress when the thing is taken away from them. To be more precise, the things that people care about become vulnerabilities. That's actually pretty base. That can be exploited by those who try to cause harm. People with malicious intent are already realizing that the metaverse is a potential tool in their arsenal. And so even have to think, like, Michael, let's even go back to your engineering. I think your focus was more on privacy, but let's even talk about like the security of the metaverse. Like, can Facebook ensure that, right? Like, so think about how large of a company Google is. Think about how large YouTube is, and the entire team, multiple teams behind YouTube, right? And YouTube is littered with scammers, and they're trying to like really build up their algorithm for the auto mod, but it's not catching nearly half of it, right? Like it's lacking severely. And so when a company grows larger, it doesn't matter really if their practices ensure security. Like there's a moderation problem, right? You're always going to get bad actors, especially when the technology grows. So I would be careful even about taking that idea of like, well, engineers are probably some of the best in the world, which is true at a lot of big tech companies, but that's still such a small portion to ensure that like the metaverse is a really safe space, and people aren't going to be harmed, and people aren't going to be screwed over and scammed. And when you start tapping into, I don't know, this isn't like what we're talking about right now, but like even when we think about like the Elon Musk's Neuralink, right now it's more of like an extra CPU or a capacitor, not a capacitor, like a storage, to be able to essentially be just a smarter, better cognitive, I don't know, faster processing human being. I don't know what I'm trying to say there, right? But that's going to advance past that. And I think we're getting into even an area where we can start blurring the lines of reality and technology. I think we're closer to that reality than people think we are with technology. And it's a really, really powerful technology. And to pretend like there aren't going to be bad actors, like think about like the emotional damage that bad actors can do just on a platform that you can log off of, like Twitter, like Facebook, like LinkedIn. Literally, people have gone down a very dark path. We'll just say that because I got to watch my words on YouTube, because of bad actors on a lot of these bigger social platforms, right? There's just, and they're trying to solve it through bots because they don't really have enough staff to deal with it as these platforms scale at such a massive level. But like, now imagine a lot of those bad actors even getting access into your cognitive processing. And like, I'm not joking when I say like reality and from like a consumer standpoint, it's going to be a while before we ever see this, like complete blend where those lines completely blur. I think it's going to be a very long time, but a lot of these, which is kind of a good thing, but a lot of these technologies already exist in a lot of these larger tech companies' internal teams. And they work through those, like, there's a lot that's been invented that you don't know about that's being worked on over the next few years before, you know, would even consider like going through trials with consumers, right? So I think a lot of the technology already exists with that, but I don't know. It's just like bad. I think that's going to be a serious concern. I think bad actors in the metaverse is going to be a very, very serious concern. And I think Facebook is probably going to drop the ball on that, as they have with a lot of other moderation situations. Yeah, I don't want to comment too much on internal stuff, but I can say that people have no idea how hard it is to moderate, make decisions. And that's the thing. I mean, Facebook just scales so much, and like a lot of these companies are trying to accommodate this or just solve this problem through automation, through bots, and we're just not there yet. We're not even close to there yet. And this is not just like a Facebook problem. Like I'm specifically calling out YouTube. YouTube is also dropping the ball with this. Twitch has dropped the ball with this. But that was more of a specific, different issue. Let's keep going. Researchers at the National Anti-Terrorism Innovation okay. Another thing with Facebook definitely has had a reputation, whether it's true or not, has had a reputation with working with law enforcement. And like the leaks with, oh God, I can't believe I'm going to butcher his name. It's not Edward Snowden. Is it Edward? What's his first name? Snowden. This video's like not getting pushed in the algorithm. There's no way. Edward, it is Edward. Okay, right? Edward American, yep. Former computer intelligence consultant who leaked highly. Yeah. So Edward Snowden, I think he's still in Russia right now. I think so. But God, even saying that word is probably gonna get my video demonetized. So anyways, like any sort of government intervention into a product, into a company that like is all consuming, that literally can just completely destroy generations of people, that has the capability of destroying generations of people through manipulation. Like, it's so, I think people underestimate the power of what Facebook can do, and it has a lot of negative impact in society. And to even, like, we already know, like, a lot of our government does have some access to certain information, and like every big tech platform is going to have some sort of policy that allows law enforcement to get involved as necessary, right? And so it's a balance between like fighting back against that law enforcement, but also like a lot of privacy information that can be revealed to the government. there's a lot of like manipulation and pressure from different areas into big tech companies to be able to actually release that information. It's a very complex situation. But now, again, we're diving, like, these platforms already completely destroy people, and now we're diving further into the psychology of a human being and like tapping into that more, and like really bringing people deeper and deeper into this technology black hole. And you also want to give the government access to that. Like, the government already essentially can get access to a lot of this information through a lot of pressure. It's like this is where things can get really dark and really messy. Maybe one of these articles will talk. I doubt like they're gonna go that deep into it, but we're just, I don't know. I think we're gonna start touching so deep into people's even just like neurological systems, and like altering, essentially like triggering it in a certain way. Like, think about like how you are specifically going to even feel and experience different senses in the metaverse that's going to be developed. How is that going to happen? What they're not going to like just like spray something, you know, with your headset on, and like you smell that thing. It's like they're going to trigger something in your system to be able to perceive that sense, right? It's like we're getting into like really, really risky territory. Black Mirror coming sooner than expected. The Black Mirror episodes already are coming. They're already coming up. Like, they exist in our society. It's actually really creepy. Okay, let me keep going. Well, let's see. Researchers see potential dark side of the metaverse. Okay, essentially what I was getting into. Well, it is still under construction. Its development promises new opportunities for extremists to exert influence through fear, threat, coercion, looking at a research, or malicious creativity and innovation. And so, like, another thing, metaverse kind of promises privacy. That's a really, really dangerous thing, because Facebook and multiple companies have, I gotta reduce the cuss words. I'm gonna do my best to like try to not get this demonetized. But Facebook and other big tech companies have dropped the ball on privacy and preventing bad actors from accessing certain information time and time again. And again, it's much broader than an engineering problem. A lot of like information is released through social engineering, right? And so, Michael, you could have, I believe you when you say like security in like a focus on privacy with that security could have been a very big priority with that. But it's just, it's such a small piece of it. It's such a small piece of it. Social engineering very often gets people the information that they want. That's how a lot of things get leaked. And internal leaks, of course, as well. But okay, so fear, threat, coercion. So anyways, what I was trying to say is like any company promising privacy, don't ever blindly believe that. Ever. That's a very dangerous thing. So you should always prepare that a company is going to drop the ball on that. You should always prepare that a platform is going to drop the ball on that, and prepare accordingly. Like, even just the basics of like, most people don't even use a VPN, right? Think about how valuable a VPN is at protecting your privacy, and most people haven't even considered it because they have so much trust in, oh, you know, the browser has like a little lock button on the website, so my information is secure. And like, I think we do a very bad job at showing people how vulnerable their information actually is and how easy it is to get some of this information. And we have this promise of privacy, and I think that's what's dangerous. We need to start teaching people to be much more skeptical of this. To be clear, we are not against the metaverse as a concept, and indeed we are excited about its potential for human advancement. However, we believe the rise of the metaverse will open up new vulnerabilities and provide new opportunities to exploit them. While not exhaustive, here are 3 ways the metaverse will complicate efforts to combat terrorism and violent... I don't even know if I could say those words on YouTube. We're not talking about it, YouTube. I'm just reading the damn article. Coordination. Second, the metaverse offers new opportunities to... I really can't read a lot of this. Coordinate bad stuff. With adequate education, information gathering, bad people could create virtual environments with depictions of these scenarios in real life that could happen, that enable and guide people into essentially following through with the stuff that could happen. Members could learn workable and efficient ways, coordinate alternative routes when some are blocked, and create multiple contingency plans if surprises arise. When carrying out an attack in the physical world, augmented reality objects such as virtual arrows can help guide bad people and identify marked people. Okay. Bad people can plan from their living rooms, basements, backyards, all while building social connections and trusting their peers, and while appearing to others in the digital avatar form of their choice. When bad people give orders to be carried out, these bad groups, are likely to be better. These groups are likely to be better prepared. Okay. I probably should have just skipped that section. Like, there's a lot I can't even mention. It's gonna get caught. Companies usually mean something different from customers when they say privacy, so a company can certainly invest heavily in privacy and care deeply about it while also simultaneously not providing what a customer means by privacy. Yeah, well, yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, there's definitely a disconnect. And I would actually imagine that some companies truly believe they are alleviating a lot of the privacy issues that can come up from a user standpoint. And I do think companies might even be under the illusion that they really are moral, that they really are trying to ensure the best privacy practices in the best interest of the user. And I think so many companies drop the ball on that. I would argue there's a disconnect in the perception of what privacy is between a company and a user. I think that's actually a really big problem. All right, the destruction of an augmented or virtual reality business means that a person is suffering real financial loss. Like physical places, virtual places can be carefully designed that carry the meaning that people afford things in which they have invested time. So even think about video games. A lot of return behavior can come from giving a user this perception like they have ownership within that game, right? Think about a lot of custom base building and stuff. It's such a huge, and it's smart to put that in video games, and it's fun to play video games like that. But there's such a huge return behavior that comes when that kind of stuff is implemented in video games. Some people will kind of just blow off how consequential it can be, even just what happens when your virtual space is destroyed, what happens when it's leaked, and you just get a bunch of people leaked from a bigger content creator, and you get a bunch of people that come to your virtual space, which was supposed to kind of just be your set space, and now you are harassed constantly, right? And a lot of big platforms have shown that they cannot deal with harassment from larger content creators, and they almost refuse to do it unless they get enough reports. And then sometimes automation will kick in, and then eventually humans will get involved sometimes, right? But there's so much information to even deal with. But a lot of large tech companies that have these social platforms have dropped the ball time and time again on preventing and dealing with this type of harassment. And that's real. The further you get into it, and the more you are actually, the deeper you are into this, the more you're emotionally going to be affected by these types of attacks, essentially. I'm sorry about my... It's not a big deal, Nolan. It's just way off topic. I think it's funny. I'm not saying it's a super bad thing, but maybe maybe bring that. I don't mind talking about that topic specifically, actually, but bring that up on Friday. I think Friday would probably be a better day for it. All right. Let's see. How can one address these emerging threats and vulnerabilities? It is reasonable for companies to suggest that hate or violence is not allowed, or that people who practice this are identified and banned from their virtual spaces. We support such promises, but we are skeptical as to whether they are credible, especially given the revelations about Meta's dangerous behavior on its Facebook, Instagram. And that's the thing. It's like some people don't even know like the research that has come out to realize like how toxic of an environment like Facebook and Instagram is. Like Instagram had a big story that came out about like the negative effect on teenage girls. I was like, wasn't that a pretty big study? I gotta look into it. I actually want to look deeper into that. I had planned to actually read that, but I mean, there's so much that has come out specifically about. I like if Facebook, if Meta has not solved these problems already, this is going to get worse. You don't expand your product. You don't try to you don't really expand that and try to get like more customers on board and deeper into your product when you haven't like solved these like really basic problems of you completely destroying society and like causing real psychological harm to individuals. Like this is what people like. This is why there are so many people really skeptical about the metaverse. It's literally the history of these platforms is just truly disgusting. And I think this needs to get solved. I think even recently, like, I mean, like even Facebook controls what hate is allowed and what hate isn't. It's very dangerous behavior. Like platforms like this are going to continue to lose trust in society for a good reason. And like you want them to dive deeper into their products where they're going to be more psychologically vulnerable. Good luck. If corporations cannot serve as reliable sole guardians of the metaverse, then who will and how? Although the arrival of a full-fledged metaverse is still several years in the future, the potential threats posed by the metaverse today require the attention of a wide variety of people and organizations, including academic researchers, those developing the metaverse, and those involved in protecting society or commission. Well, I think we've seen the people that Facebook recruits in protecting society. And again, like Meta's just lost reputation among society. Like they've lost people's trust. That's a huge issue with this. That's a really huge issue with this. You're going to get people that like literally will blindly follow any like big corporations and like they see like one video or they hear like one story from like even a Facebook software engineer, like security is our primary concern. It's like, oh, thank God. Okay, now I'm going to give myself freely to this extremely predatory software or potentially predatory software. Like people blindly follow this stuff more often than you think. And I think we need to do a better job in society of teaching people like how to actually go about ensuring your privacy, like the real things that you need to do. I think this is a good start because I think it exposed some of what I was concerned with, and I think it kind of dove. I think it got me thinking about the right things to be skeptical, given the next set of articles as well. I do think we sometimes ascribe more responsibility to social networks than we should. Many of the behaviors that we get upset about are totally normal behaviors from people. The scale just exacerbates it. What do you mean? Many of the behaviors that we get upset about are, I don't know. I don't know why that's not clicking, but we do. And that is a user problem too. I mean, I can call out like companies. It's, you know, a lot of people like will call out these companies like this, but like I really want to ensure it's like we're at a point where you should never trust these companies again, right? And if you continue to do so, that's your problem. That's a reality. sometimes a lot of people aren't really informed about privacy and security and like what they need to do as an individual to ensure that. But I think like I would argue like traditional high school education drops the ball on like so many things. And I would argue with technology being such a prevalent thing today, there literally should be an entire class on security and privacy and interacting with technology in a very healthy way. Like I actually think that should be an entire course in high school, just like, you know, financial planning. Like, again, I mean, I can go into several courses that I think high school should have to prepare people for the real life, because I think they do a horrible job at it. But yeah, and in essence, it is a user problem, and we need to start putting it on the user to take that responsibility. My personal take is that socializing doesn't scale. Gotcha. Scale exacerbates it. Okay, I definitely get what you're saying with that. I agree. I completely agree. And I think it's a scaling problem. Even think about like how Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook. Like there was a lot of really good intention behind it. And I don't even, like, even if I think of like, sometimes it's easy to just say like Mark Zuckerberg is like this evil person, but like, I think it's a combination. Like once you start scaling a social product so large, the product itself creates real social problems, real psychological problems. And if you continue focused on scaling that product and that becomes a priority, like that will get out of anyone's hands. That like a product, I don't want to say like a product becomes like an entity in itself, but like with something as big as Meta, like it kind of does. It becomes its own entity, and you have to like really look at it, a company like that, a product like that, and decide like, is this a good entity in society? Is this with the way people are interacting with it and using it, like, is this I don't know. Sometimes I think sometimes we need to even take a step back and like not just think Mark Zuckerberg is this like soulless robot. Like he did this, didn't he do like a Turing test on an interview or something like that? I think they should have been a little bit harder on him, gone into a little bit more depth just to make sure he wasn't an android. But I think that meme is funny, so I just bring it up. But yeah, I mean, sometimes it is just a product trying to scale it. That is the problem in itself. All right, let's see. Metaverse okay, Metaverse in practice. That's kind of interesting. All right. The word metaverse has entered common usage, but there remain different ways of conceptualizing and defining it. The metaverse will be shaped by technology we use to access it, which could include virtual reality, augmented reality, AR, brain-computer interfaces. Okay. Major technology companies like Apple, Google, Meta Platforms, Facebook, Microsoft, Niantic, I don't know what that company is, and Valve are developing the tech that will shape the future of the metaverse over the course of 2021. And so that's the idea. It's like, if you think of like metaverse as a concept, then you could like really start pushing to like, how is that implemented, right? And you can almost like rebuild this idea of like what an ethical social, what an ethical social platform should look like and how that should scale, right? We can learn from past mistakes of some of these larger social platforms. Will we? No, because a lot of this is driven by money. Like, and like businesses in general are going to be driven by money. I don't think we should have like a dreamy vision of like any business. Even when you have a business that's like very mission driven and like even like activism focused, like there's always profit to be made that will always have some driver in the direction, in the scaling of that business. It's I think we know what not to do. I just don't think businesses in general, if you actually want to scale that business, is going to be immune to making very profit focused decisions. I can't see any of these other companies honestly doing this in a more ethical way or creating like a more ethical version of the multiverse, whatever that, or metaverse, whatever that means. Multiverse. But yeah, then we just have this like abstract term of like what the metaverse even means, and I think some people just automatically think it's like something Facebook creates, and that's not necessarily true. Word metaverse entered common usage, inspiring a lively global debate about what it represents, whether it's already there, and who will own it. But in 2022, we still don't have an accepted definition of what it is. This has been satirized on the tech. I don't even know what that means. Satirized on the tech website The Verge. Maybe you've read that metaverse is going to replace the internet. No, I don't think so. Maybe we're all supposed to live there. Maybe Facebook, Epic, Roblox, dozens of smaller companies is trying to take it over, and maybe it's got something to do with NFTs. Yeah, NFTs are gonna be big in the metaverse. In order to explore the possible implications of the metaverse, we need to understand exactly what it is. The attempts at a definition can be categorized into 3 schools of thought. This is actually a really good article. Niantic is a Google gaming spinoff. They did the Pokemon Mobile. Oh, interesting. Okay, so their focus is probably going to be on... I'm so tired. Definitions are not going to come to me. On... what's virtual reality, and then you have like kind of like a slight mix of reality and alternate reality. Like, what is that? Like, if you I don't know, you see like sometimes soldiers have tech that can like with the screen can kind of be able to pinpoint targets a little bit better and like provide useful information for snipers and stuff like that. Like, what augmented reality? God, why it took me so long to like even recall that term. I am so tired right now. I got like 4 hours of sleep. Thank you. Metaverse is a product or service. In January 2020, author and investor Matthew Ball published the most commonly referenced description of the metaverse: an expansive network of persistent, real-time rendered 3D worlds and simulations that can be experienced synchronously by an effectively unlimited number of users, each with an individual sense of presence. According to his definition, the metaverse is a product or service with 7 core attributes, including persistence, synchronicity, interpolarity. What's that? Interpolarity. The ability of computer systems or software to exchange and make use of information. Okay. The technology strategist Ben Thompson has argued, however, that this description is in fact not far from what the internet already is and does, only with a 3D layer on top of it. The metaverse is a place. The metaverse has also been described as a place where users can connect, interact, and transfer themselves and their belongings across multiple digital locations. Examples that come to mind include gaming and creator platforms like Roblox, Epic Games, etc., which players and their avatars can seamlessly transition from one virtual world to another. And I think a lot of people have this vision when they think of the metaverse. More recently, the startup entrepreneur Sean Puri came up with another definition describing the metaverse as a point in time. Specifically, the metaverse is the moment at which our digital lives, our online identities, experiences, relationships, and assets become more meaningful to us than physical lives. This is, oh my God. This is big. Like, so this has already happened in society, right? How much cash do you have lying around? Seriously, think about it. How much cash do you have lying around? Right? The cash in your bank isn't actual cash. It's literally just a number in a system. Do you really feel that number is secure? Do you really feel like banks have to, no matter what, have to give you the amount of money that is in your bank account? What do you think is going to happen when society collapses? What do you think is going to happen? I'm not going to dive into like, I mean, like we've been going deeper and deeper into like truly destroying the American dollar. And like, that's a conversation in itself. But I think people underestimate how much of a possibility it actually is that our entire banking system can be destroyed in a sense where it will screw over majority of people in the country,
right? Look at the privacy policies of your banks. Do they have to issue out that money? Is there ever a circumstance where they can essentially say, we don't have it, you no longer have it? It's literally just a number in a system, and we entirely depend on that. We depend on systems. We are already in a place where a lot of, like, you know, even a credit score can either make your life really good or keep you buried and oppressed from, you know, really like well, I mean, for a little while, right? Credit scores usually recover, but like, I'm telling you, like, a credit score is a real adversity that people have to face. Like, people with a really low credit score, that's a huge challenge to face in society when you're trying to become more successful. It's just a fucking number. Like, it's through technology, it's through a system. And so we're already so dependent on these things, and we want to create more dependency on technology and systems that can literally ruin our entire lives. Like, people should think about that. Oh, chat disappeared. Get some rest. Thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate that. Hopefully I will tonight. This perspective puts the focus on human experience, making the transition to the metaverse a sociological shift instead of a technological one. Yep. The metaverse in practice. Like, we're going to be having this conversation about AI. We're not as far as people think in regards to a lot of people's concerns with artificial intelligence. Highly recommend, if you want to keep up to date with that, and people that are concerned and focused on that and creating ethical AI, like Elon Musk is a really good person to follow for that. There are a lot of other good people, but I'm telling you, like, we're not that far from having this conversation about artificial intelligence. Like, a lot of it, this is just like problems with technology in general. The metaverse in practice. The third definition is compelling in part because it focuses on those who will actually build and use the metaverse, people. Answering questions about how the metaverse might look and feel rather than pondering about its features could prove a useful viewpoint to predict the wave of socioeconomic change that the metaverse is expected to unleash. Wait, what? Could prove a useful viewpoint to predict the wave of socioeconomic change that the metaverse is expected to unleash. After all, the future is built by ruthless pragmatists, not the armchair theorizers who mended the forest to their own words. I don't know what that means. I'm not going to click on it. And if technologies are right that 2022 will separate thinkers from builders, then last year's technical advances will produce this year's first steps towards making the metaverse a reality. Progress will, in large part, be attributed to ever-improving graphics processing units, photorealistic 3D engines, faster content generation through volumetric video and artificial intelligence, and increasing prevalence of cloud computing and 5G, as well as more sophisticated and better understood blockchain infrastructure. But from the perspective of the human experience, one development stands out above all others: extended reality. These include virtual reality, augmented reality, and brain-computer interfaces, BCI, which together position themselves as the next computing platforms in their own right. Extended reality has made rapid progress towards mainstream adoption, with predictions that VR and AR headsets will surpass global game console shipments as early as 2024. Damn. Okay. Damn. And just like the introduction of the personal computer and smartphones before them, broad consumer adoption of extended reality headsets is expected to revolutionize human digital experiences. It is likely to provide the entry points of choice to the metaverse. Meander. Oh, wander somewhat aimlessly. That's a bold prediction. This is a really, really bold prediction. Just a quick look into this. Okay. AR glasses. Okay, so AR glasses are going to surpass it. What is this? 2025? No, they said 2024. So they're talking about a VR smartphone shell. VR tethered to PC. So just essentially VR headset. Like our phones, I mean, have pretty impressive processors, but are they saying like, I don't know. I mean, like, are they saying we can use phones to essentially use as a camera, right? To replace our vision and provide more useful, I don't know, just data in the world as we interact with our environment? Are they saying like it's going to have a separate external accessory? Or because it looks like a lot of this VR standalone AR glass, when they made it sound like that, I almost assumed like the VR standalone is what I was assuming. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like what they said was misrepresentative. 2025 seems like would be a more accurate statement. Augmented reality, mixed reality. Real and virtual worlds where users can interact with and manipulate both environments, immersing oneself in a completely digital environment. I think the military is going to get first access into blending that virtual reality. Well, that virtual reality into actual reality. And I think they're going to do that. When I talked about that blend and that confusion of like what's even real, I think military is probably going to be one of the first industries to experience that. Using which languages mainly Metaverse would be built is being built. I don't know. We'll continue reading. Anyways, you guys can check this article out, but I think that's an interesting prediction. Just like the introduction of personal computers and smartphones, entry points. Okay, the question of extended reality technology ultimately prevails as a subject of a heated boardroom discussions, corporate chessboard moves, and elevated investment activity. Today's Metaverse, virtual reality as the digital escape. This is what I'm worried about. This is what I'm worried about. Society continues to escape reality. We continue to encourage people in practices that truly don't empower them as individuals to be successful in society, but that, I mean, like I've talked about it, sometimes like when I say victim mentality, it triggers people, but it's true. That's what it is. And I think our society is progressively turning into a society that does encourage that victim mentality, that escape. Like you even see tons of like, can't say this on YouTube, but like look at the past 2 years, look at all the, look at everything that was abused over the past 2 years. Look at all the people that are no longer with us today because of a mental breakdown, right? I think we are doing a poor job at empowering individuals to deal with the challenges of today. And they're not that different. We use different tools to interact with our society today, but like they have a lot of similarities to what we've been dealing with. But I think the way what's been encouraged in society to deal with some of these issues is it's shifting. It's shifting. It's very much shifting. And I don't think our newer generations are being taught or equipped well to be able to deal with just life in general. This is an escalating problem with each generation, and this is like my main concern is the metaverse is going to be used as an escape, not supplemental to make your life better, because while you're tackling like the reality and the challenges in reality to also make your life better, but more of an escape. This is going to become extremely addictive for some people that have not been well equipped enough to deal with life. This is like 100% what I'm worried about. I am less concerned about what Mark Zuckerberg does with my information and how he chooses to use what he's learned about me to manipulate me through like a broader scope of society. And I'm actually more concerned about people that just cannot handle life well. They have not been taught how to handle life well. And they're going to use this as an addictive escape. They're going to form an addictive behavior that will destroy them. This is my main concern over anything else. All of them. There are going to be a lot of technology. I don't think it's going to be JavaScript. Maybe for interfaces. JavaScript's not low enough level. It's not super fast. Everything physical is becoming expensive. The digital world will be the norm. The real world will be for the rich. You're probably right. That's actually a pretty based statement, Jerome. I think it's possible that the whole development scene would be changed in the next 10 years and AR development would boom. Oh yeah, it definitely will. It definitely will. I agree with you. All right. So, over the next few years, the metaverse is expected to manifest itself primarily through virtual reality, an alternate digital world that can be used for a variety of personal and enterprise purposes. Recent high-profile announcements by meta platforms, etc., that headsets like MetaQuest or Sony will be the consumer choices to navigate interactive and social 3D environments. Virtual reality is focused on creating a digital sense of presence, which many experts agree will be key to creating an attractive experience and retaining users. Mark Zuckerberg claims that the metaverse in the form of popular video games is already here. It is. Yeah, many tech experts expect to see Meta acquiring major game franchise in 2022, following Microsoft's $68.7 billion acquisition of Activision Blizzard and Sony's $3.6 billion purchase of Bungie. The company's Oculus app, soon to be rebranded MetaQuest, leading app, was leading the App Store this holiday season, during which Meta may have sold as many as 2 million VR headsets. Whoa. I'd like to see those numbers beforehand, though. All right, I'm going to refill my water. Give me 1 second. All right, we are back. Our industry has been dreaming of building the metaverse since Neil Stephenson wrote Snow Crash. Want to know what all the leaders in the space are imagining? Read that book. Okay, never heard of it. It's also just a fun read, so there's that. Okay, that actually, I've been looking for the next book to read. I'll check it out. Thank you. All right, let's see. This vision maintains a separation between our digital and physical selves. Virtual reality will only ever replace certain aspects of the human experience. Critics claim that relying on a handful of VR device content manufacturers to build a metaverse will replicate or even reinforce the walled gardens that exist on the internet today, distinct closed ecosystems that are controlled by the operator. This is a strong contrast to the future. I mean, that's true, right? And they have they have the money to be able to create that dependency and create that attraction towards their products, right? And they're doing the world a service by like trying to keep these devices as cheap as possible. But again, like, you know, the money to be made from this isn't selling those specific devices either. Strong contrast to the future envisaged by advocate. What's envisaged mean? Envisaged. Contemplate or conceive of as a possibility or desirable future event. Okay. But like, say envision, say, like, why do people use words like that? Just use a word that's a little bit more commonly understood. By advocates of Web3 who believe that the metaverse should act as a counterbalance to the power held by large technology companies. It should be an opportunity to decentralize the experience, control and monetization of the internet in favor of its users or citizens and content creators. Who believe that the metaverse should act as... So that's the thing. It's like a lot of people... there's so many scams with NFTs, right? But a lot of people that do really believe in the future of NFTs and what that brings are people that are also very skeptical. I mean, they favor decentralized solutions over like that gatekeeper, that centralization. And that's why I'm more open to paying attention to how NFTs are progressing and how that impacts our society. I don't immediately just discard it. Oh, it's just BS. It's a scam. Like I'm interested in it. I want to watch what's going to happen with it because I think we've like just touched the surface on it, and it's essentially become kind of like a pyramid scheme and like trying to get everyone to believe in it so everyone makes more money. But like we're talking about like the art pieces of it, right? It's such a surface level observation of like what that technology can really do. So I'm paying attention to it. I think it's interesting, and I think a lot of the users that advocate for NFTs also prioritize just a mindset of like favoring decentralized solutions. And they have an observation of like what a lot of these larger tech companies have truly become and the negative impacts they have on society. This is why I like following people that really are advocates of this. But just like Web3 in general, usually people that like will focus on NFTs, like they have a deeper understanding of like the technology as well. I think most people do. Unless you're like a large content creator that's just using your audience to essentially just make more profit, which there are definitely content creators that do that. The US dollar is a pyramid scheme? I mean, in a sense it is. You're not technically wrong. But are most, if not all, NFTs. Again, I just don't care about NFTs. I care about the technology underneath. I really do. I would start thinking about like, I do think that's kind of like an ignorant blink assumption. I would start looking at like, what positive impact can NFTs bring to society? Are there really zero? Or have you just like gone into this with complete skepticism and haven't looked into that? I feel like it's a bit more complex than that. And I remember when Rockstar, I had him on, he mentioned it's like 99.9% of NFTs are a scam. Yes. Are all NFTs a scam? No. And I think it's even just interesting considering some of the creativity that comes from content creators. And some people just want to literally sell it as art. And like there are artists that are kind of diving further into technology, and even think like a lot of artists have adapted to becoming graphic designers and producing art on the computer. It's like it for some people that just want a creative outlet. Sometimes that also becomes just another alternative to be able to be creative people as well. This song's going too hard. All right, so near-term metaverse augmented reality to enhance, not replace, human experience. A lot of people are talking about the metaverse these days, coming off 18 months of Zoom, Netflix, and DoorDash. You can count me out, at least in the form that most folks are imagining, wrote John Hank, the CEO of a tech company, Niantic, in a recent blog post. Okay, interesting. He argued that digital technology shouldn't compete with physical reality, and that most people don't enjoy prolonged experiences inside virtual worlds. We have a gut. I think I think because we've been trained not to experience those things, that's why. But you would be surprised that with enough repetition, how that can change. According to Hank, the metaverse should improve rather than replace human experiences. And so even think about like, I wish I could go into the topic and like talk about this, even just with, you know, the last 2 years and what's happened, but I can't. But like one thing you've seen, even if you look at like government control, usually like the government tests a lot of there are a lot of people, a lot of politicians that will kind of test how far they can go with certain things, and then they reel it back, right? And so it's literally exposure. And so even just because you say, yeah, you know, people are just sick of Zoom and these online meetings, and it's true, right? There's been a lot of resentment built up and a lot of anxiety and just exhaustion built up. But now you notice how companies, you know, some companies, and even just like the conversation around it, they're reeling back. It's like, okay, we get it. We want to give you guys a break. You know, like a lot of people are exhausted from technology and being online 24/7. And a lot of this stuff, and even just like policies that I was talking about, are progressively pushed out and then reeled back a little bit, and then pushed out a little bit further just to gain a few more inches and reeled back a bit. Like you see that a lot with different policies and different institutions. So this idea that like people are exhausted with online technology, it's like, for now, right, let people recover, and then we're going to push it on them just a little bit more. And it's just like this gradual exposure. So I would argue, like, you're right about this, but this is temporary. This is super temporary. And you can gradually push this addiction onto people. And essentially it can become an addiction and a dependency onto people through progression like that. I'm in the process of building an NFT platform technology just to get experience on everything underneath. Nice. You have to share sometime what you learn about that, Sean. Glad you can make it though. All right. Thankfully, my wife is a real artist, so I'm doing everything for her, and we both don't expect to make anything. Both just interested in how this changes the space. That's pretty cool. You have to feel free to. Don't try to sell it, but like feel free. I don't even know if you can like share it without selling it. I don't know. But it'd be interesting seeing what you guys come up with. What am I saying? I think I meant like don't try to sell it in my community, but like what I would want to do is almost like have you share it with. I don't know if you're up for it. I would almost like want you to share like your experience with it and show us the NFT that you guys made too. I think that'd be pretty cool. I think I want to have more conversations and bring more people on around that topic. Okay, so argue that digital technology shouldn't compete with physical reality and that most people don't enjoy prolonged experiences inside virtual worlds. Metaverse should improve rather than replace human experiences. That's the reality. Well, that's not the reality. That's ideal. He's not the only one to articulate this argument. Oversaw Second Life. Philip Rosedale, who oversaw Second Life, an online social platform launched in 2003, has recently argued that the metaverse is not for everybody. But Niantic's vision has predicted an augmented reality AR, which, unlike VR, doesn't completely cover and replace a user's field of vision. Proponents of AR claim that the metaverse of the future will be based on synthesis of the physical and digital worlds. The latest funding round valued Niantic at $9 billion, suggesting that at least some investors agree. Okay. Recent and forthcoming AR product launches from companies such as North, etc., and Top 5 demonstrate the potential of AR alongside limitations that need to be overcome. I feel like it'd be worth like diving into some of these articles, but with companies engaging in a tech talent war, and rumors of new hardware from like the likes of Apple, AR's iPhone moment may not be far away. I'm doing everything on testnets, so it's all free. Oh, okay. I'd be happy to share the code and open source it on GitHub when it's done. That'd be pretty cool. I'd love to see that. Thank you. Whatever happened to Google Glass? I never heard of that. What is Google Glass? Okay, we got to finish this article. But yeah, I've never heard of it. I have no idea. Maybe. There you go. All right, so perhaps the most far-reaching vision of the metaverse involves brain-computer interfaces. Fuck this. All models of Extended reality today rely on screens and traditional control systems, even if some devices have also worked with the senses of touch and smell. BCIs aim to replace screens and physical hardware entirely. Technology such as Neuralink requires neurosurgery to implant devices in the brain, an idea that simultaneously intrigues and discourages many potential consumers. Researchers have also used neuro interfaces to restore the ability to speak and write in people that have suffered speech loss. Again, this technology can be very useful and positive for society. It can be. A lot of this technology can be. And we have to really figure out a way to push for companies to prioritize that. If history has shown us anything, that's probably going to be close to impossible, but that like we have to fight for that. Because that's where the beauty of a lot of technology comes from. It just, in the context of the metaverse, the gaming and tech company Valve last year announced an exploration of BCIs together. Oops, I forgot to release the short today. I'll do that after this. Last year announced exploration of BCIs together with Open BCI, the developers of a non-invasive Gilia headset. Applications will range, well, what does that mean? Applications will range from gaming to healthcare. After expanding the partnership to include MIT Media Lab and Tobii, OpenBCI recently raised funding to build an operating system of the mind. Success would represent a major step towards a vision that truly integrates tech into the human experience. The perils of predicting tech developments. There are many different ways in which the metaverse could develop, all dependent on an ecosystem of research, innovation, investment, and policy. Any effort to predict winners is notoriously unreliable. If the metaverse materializes, it is likely to expand into experiences that we cannot predict, and anyone who claims with certainty that they know what will happen is probably lacking the flexibility of curious optimism. That's an interesting word to use at the end, optimism. Okay. What do you guys think? Just general feel of going over this. Go back to 2011, 2012 for Google Glass. But seriously, like what? I would almost, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are going to have optimism and skepticism, right? For this. I might do a poll, like a YouTube poll, to see where people are at with this. I'm very curious. So Google Glass. Small, lightweight, wearable computer with a transparent display for hands-free work. Okay. Came out in 2012. It still does exist. It's not commercially available. Yeah, I don't know. There's your answer. Product from a subsidiary company called Google X. They scrapped the project a few years ago. Google X works on a bunch of concepts that get scrapped. Okay. Google X. I want to look into that. I know a guy that worked there, and he said Google X is like a playground that Google dumps money into in the hopes that one of the many wild projects turn into something. A lot of larger companies have that department. Millions of dollars to conceptualize random tech-based projects, apparently. Okay, I'm super skeptical that any of this... Oh, you are skeptical that it'll take off. Interesting. Why is that? I could be wrong. I don't have doubt that this is going to take off. And that's what scares me a bit. And I want to, like, the execution of that takeoff. What companies are leading the way in that. But that's interesting that you're skeptical that it'll even take off. I think when we... Even if I think about, like, virtual reality, it's very hard for me to see in the next 5 years, like, a legitimate, like... I don't know, just a seamless... We have so many issues with virtual reality headsets today. It's made such slow progress. I I think there are going to, I don't know, I can't talk about this much. As I read more and I just look at a lot of world news and kind of just what's coming out, I think we are going to experience more things in the future that will cause us to become more isolated. And I feel like we have, a lot of these companies have all the fuel I guess they have, like, people are being primed for the right mindset where they will become real consumers that will buy these products and dive deeper into this industry. I feel like we've hit a turning point over the past 2 years that started priming us for this to become a very real reality in the next 5 years. And what that actually means and where we are with that in 5 years, a lot of people can predict it, but I don't think they really know. But I feel like there are going to be world events in the future that will cause this to not lose momentum. And that's a really scary reality, but I truly do to predict that, and I truly do see that in our future. I think it has the momentum it needs at this point, even if it doesn't look like it. I think a lot of big companies learned a lot about us over the past 2 years. Be interesting. Google X is where Google makes really unlikely but really big bets. I really want to look into. Do they share the projects that they worked on? I think it's scrappers say it's for industrial applications now. Oh, I'm less interested in that. Google Glass is coming back? Really? Okay. I mean, yeah, essentially it is. It's like the old Bell Labs or IBM Research. Big companies have places like that because it's just one of the ideas. If one of the ideas is successful, it might be worth billions. So the potential payoff is worth it. Yeah, hospitals, like larger hospital networks have that as well. A lot of research is done, some experimental, some I'm sure is not in the books as well. I think you get that with a lot of different industries for sure, not just technology industries. I think Metaverse will be a thing regardless of Facebook or not. I think it will be a matter of which Metaverse becomes more popular. I'm with you on that one, Sean. It was very hard to see homeless people carrying around smartphones 15 years ago. Very hard. So you're essentially saying, like, you're essentially getting to the fact that, there's always skepticism with any new technology, right? I think that's what you're saying. If that's what you're saying, because I've had people bring that up and like, oh, this is normal. I mean, there's been true skepticism of like whether, if we talk about like the morality and the effect on society, like a lot of it has come true. A lot of skepticism has come true, and it's just been, it's very easy to condition people to exist with something. It's very easy to manipulate people and condition them to adopt something when they originally had that skepticism. It doesn't mean that made their life better, though. It doesn't mean it made society better, though. It just trained us to be more accepting of it, right? And to normalize it, right? And I think a lot of companies with very big, very, like, a lot of, I don't know if it would be like in a marketing department, but a lot of companies like have a team full of people that will literally do work in society to shape society so the product becomes more viable. So the product becomes more accepted, it becomes more needed, right? Like this idea. And I think just because I think sometimes when people say, oh, this is normal, like Web3, people were skeptical about the internet back in the day, right? It doesn't mean they were wrong. It doesn't mean that the internet hasn't made society worse in certain ways, right? And I think sometimes people oversimplify that expression to discard people's skepticism. And I think we got to be careful about that. Google's self-driving cars were born at Google X. Interesting. I don't hear much about Google's self-driving cars, though. I hear a lot from Tesla and a lot of the errors that happen from that. Gina, be so annoying to see how Apple gets into this with their walled garden. Yeah, Apple's a big one. A walled garden, I've never heard that expression before, but I think Apple could probably be the face of that. You're right about that. All right, cool. Hey, I wanted to explore this. I appreciate people having a real conversation with me. You know my skepticism. Feel free to like toss it out the window and be like, Don, he's just like way, I don't know, he just like has this huge bias against big tech or etc. That's fine. You can think that. I want to see more of I want to see a lot of these technologies. Where was Elon Musk's Neuralink? And did they say like Neuralink had solved like speech problems and stuff like that? I want to see more positive impacts of this. I look at history and I don't see that coming. That's where I literally like, I could even take away like you could replace Mark Zuckerberg with a different CEO that seems more ethical. And I really think there's a real issue with the technology, the entity that's been created and the impact it has. You could even like take away the CEO and the board. And it's like at a certain point, like in order for those companies to thrive, maybe the most ethical person isn't the person that should be in charge, or that company will completely go under. And that's a bad thing, right? But a lot of these leaders that progress these types of technologies that have really real negative impacts in society and want to scale it, especially a lot of these social technologies, it's I don't know. I'll continue paying attention to it a little bit more. But yeah, it was fun. Thanks for diving into it, which is regarded as the best tech in the space by a lot of people. Self-driving cars. Spun off on Waymo. Okay. Good to know, Jeremy. Good to know. All right, I'm tired. I still have a podcast episode to do today. So this is a full hour and a half. Thank you for diving into this with me. Thank you for sharing your opinions. I think this is an interesting topic. I know, like, I haven't even looked at my viewers. I'm sure it's like a lower number of viewers. It's like more of a niche topic, and I want to dive more into these niche topics on Wednesdays too sometimes. So we'll dive further into them in the future. But thank you. Thanks for being here. Before I forget, again, everyone that does decide, everyone that has Patreon, supported me through Patreon and YouTube, thank you so much. I do appreciate you. Always appreciate the support. We will be live on Friday, 1:30 Central Time. Yeah. We'll see you guys then. Thanks for liking these streams. You are welcome. Glad you're enjoying them. All right, take care. Happy coding, everyone. See you.